Okay. Hello, everybody. I think we are live. I've seen some people in the chat already. So if you can see us and we're here, especially you, Greg, who's been having trouble catching the start, comment in the chat and I'll check that. I'll also pull it up on my phone so I can see it more live. But everybody, this is Phil.
Hello.
We are going to have some fantastic shenanigans today.
Okay, shenanigans, that is my favorite word.
Yes, there's been many shenanigans today. Okay, it doesn't look like it's showing up for me on my phone yet. So I don't know if people are seeing it yet. So let me pop back. Okay, it just popped up for me. I had to like exit and re-enter. And re-enter if it isn't showing up. Yeah, because that worked for me just now. Hello, Seamus. Hello, Emma.
Hello.
See if Greg gets back in here. Okay, so okay, you're in watching live. Okay, perfect. Everyone's in. It worked. Yeah, I get that sometimes when I pull it up where I have to go back in and out a few times for it to actually register. But yes, we are live. We are streaming. We have Phil here with us, and we're gonna have a party. I mean, like, I was briefly chatting at the end of the last stream about how we met on the glorious of Twitters.
Sort of. We did. All my writer friends, pretty much. That's where I met them. So
yeah, it's definitely a fun way to do it. I did a refresh until something changed. Yeah, that seems to do it a lot of the time. But we've been in some form of writing group for. I mean, how long has it been now? Like,
I think we're coming up on 3 years this spring.
Oh my god!
Yeah,
that feels like such a long time.
I know.
So it's been good. We've been reading each other's books. So both the book that, well, actually, no one has read the book that I've been doing all the other world building for because I haven't finished a draft of it yet. But you've read most of all my other stuff, and I've been reading pieces of various stories set in the world that we're going to be working on for you. So I have some general familiarity there. Good taste in books, Phil.
I do have great taste. I think Maddie and I think we both have very similar taste in books.
Yeah. We're actually we're gonna meet up in person for the first time here soon and do a writing retreat and work on our heist books. So that'll be fun.
The heist weekend. That's right.
Yeah, it's gonna be a blast. I'm very excited. But okay, so let's get started and give everyone I don't know how much you want to share about the high level concept of the book or the world we're trying to do here, or if you just want to cover some rough requirements, nothing beyond that list. I don't know how much you feel comfortable sharing.
Well, it's going to be a heist book. Very much like Madeline and I are both working on heist books at the same time, which is fun. There's magic, obviously, because it's fantasy, and there's ghosts that factors in as well. So I guess my main character, he goes on a heist and involves some ghosts, I guess is the quick way of saying that.
Yeah, we have heists with ghosts, and then we have heist with nerds.
And I love it.
It's gonna be great. Okay, so let me share. Add this to stage right now. I think I want to on this side here. Okay, so I kind of have all of Phil's maps here. They're kind of a little bit more high level because you don't need to go that super in depth, which is something that I want, those of you that are writers or who aren't world building for the sake of world building, you don't always have to do all the craziness because it's honestly just a waste of time when you're supposed to be writing. Unless you're crazy and you just like doing them all. But we have a rough climate map to look at. We have some base temperature maps to look at, an elevation map, and a river map. So that's what we have to work with right now. And some of the other stuff, if we really need it, Phil can find it for us because she does have other maps. But let me go back here to this. So basically, our first step is we are going to figure out where we are going to place her first city, which is Calderidge. And we have a list of requirements that fit into Phil's story and, like, you know, various plot mechanics that we need to maintain. And we're going to try and figure out where we're going to put it. And then see how far we get from there in terms of, you know, making some smaller scale maps and kind of slowly diving deeper in. So do you want to like go over your requirements for us real quick?
Sure. So the first thing is where the city is, it needs to have the ground frozen in winter. The reason being is my main character digs up graves, and it needs to be difficult in the winter for him to do so. The second one is on the same continent that the main city is in. There needs to be a rainforest or jungle on the same continent. It needs to be, the main city needs to be a good distance from existing mountains because there's a magical mountain that comes up, and it needs to kind of stand out from the landscape. And then we also want this continent to be, make sense for it to have been colonized later than the other continents.
Okay. For people that are asking that missed the beginning part, everybody, this is Phil. She is one of my writing friends. We met on the great, once great Twitter.
Once great.
Once great. And we've been writing friends for like 3 years, and we're both working on heist books, and we're helping Phil here work on where her like capital city and stuff is going to go for her writing project right now. And Phil wants a unicorn, apparently.
That's true.
Yeah. But yeah, hi Aaron, hi Ross, hi everyone else that like popped in just last little bit. But we're gonna get started on this. So the first thing that's gonna be easiest for us to rule out some area is gonna be the frozen ground. And so I already added a little note here for that, where basically we kind of have like,
I said perfect. That's it.
Oh, perfect. Yes, perfect. We kind of have a sweet spot we want to find. We don't want the ground to be like year round, like where we year round frozen, where there's like permafrost and you would not really be burying people in the ground or ever have it be easy to dig people out of the ground.
Yeah.
But we also don't want it to be where it's not frozen any time of the year. So we're gonna kind of like roughly fill in. Let's see, where are we? Frozen ground. We're going to roughly be filling in where these limits are going to be between what is frozen and what isn't between the two seasons.
Okay.
So I think the easiest way to do it, so you already have a handy dandy scale here, and I assume this is Celsius?
Off of your guide.
It's off of my guide.
Yes.
What is my guide?
I'm pretty sure it was Celsius because I was like, oh no, I don't think yours was. I think I converted it to Celsius possibly.
Okay, I was gonna say, I was like, I feel like this looks like it's Celsius because very hot is 32 plus, so that has to be Celsius. And like, I occasionally try to pretend that I can use the same system as the rest of the world, but I normally don't. So I think this is Celsius. So
I think for Canadian brain here, yes.
Yeah. Yes, Celsius. Okay, everyone's on the same page. It is Celsius. So we are going to be looking for basically that cutoff of 0 degrees Celsius, which is basically very cold and extremely cold, are going to be what's frozen. And this map I have open right now this is the July map. Oh yes, they're saying hi to Canada.
Yes.
You're not the only Canadian here. We have a few of them at the moment. But yes, okay. So basically, at the bottom hemisphere, it's the winter over here. So we can basically just like, you get a smaller little thing here. Basically, anything that is this blue color is going to be frozen. So we can kind of just color all that in real quick. This must be quite the mountain up here.
Yep.
All of that. And then there are some little bits, but basically everything that's up here is probably going to be permafrost, given that this is the Northern Hemisphere summer, I believe. So we can
Yeah,
probably
there's
just...
mountaintops there. Yeah,
What?
mountaintops.
Yeah, yeah, mostly all little mountaintops there. So I think that's what we're looking at.
Okay.
So then if I switch to the other map here,
Do we need
we
green
sort of...
as well, or no?
green is the 0 to 10. So it's everything
Okay.
that's not quite frozen.
Okay.
So down here, anything here that is green or purple is going to be like permafrost,
Yeah.
or blue or purple. So this all here, this is all going to be permafrost for the most part. But all of this here and basically everything in here will be seasonally frozen ground. Of course, there might be like local variations. So we're looking at that. We have this, all of this. Let's go over here. Green was not in the... Yeah, no, green is good. So actually all of this, seasonal. This is all permafrost. And all of that. And I mean, technically all of this as well. Anything else that's like green here? Or wait, no, hold on. I'm losing it. I'm losing it, people. I blame doing this for so many hours today. Oh my goodness, yeah. This little sliver over here that's blue would be a little bit of seasonally frozen ground, but we don't have a lot down here. So this is all frozen year-round. This is all seasonally frozen. And then up here, we have some new seasonally frozen ground up here. And all in here. Definitely a lot of land up in here.
Yep.
So we'll just cover all this up. Do, 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 do. Yep. And then question for Phil. What was your original inspiration for the map and land masses? Did you have a story idea first or developed your story from
Okay. So the world kind of came first, and then I saw Madeline's wonderful videos and was like, I want to do that. And so I started making the world after that. And so while I've kind of been doing my world building, like beyond the basic idea, it's kind of come a little bit hand in hand of building the maps. Well, I'm doing the more specific kind of world building.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's been a lot of fun. That was definitely how my first project worked, where I hadn't done the first, like I hadn't gone super crazy on the world map, and then I kind of retrofitted it to an extent, which is always fun. Definitely causes shenanigans, though, all over the place. At least in my case, it did.
Oh, there's always the shenanigans.
Yes. Okay, so I think we've caught all the frozen ground. Okay.
Awesome.
So all of those like crossed sections have the frozen ground in winter.
Okay.
So then the next requirement we have is going to be, oh, I didn't think that through. We'll just hide it for now.
That's okay.
We want to have it be on the same continent as jungle or rainforest, with ideally a mountain separation. So we're gonna kind of just like really roughly, because all we have here is rough climate regions. In these tropical areas, we're gonna select some spaces that would be more likely to be maybe AF rainforest type, maybe even some AM climate zones. Oof. So we're mostly going to be looking in the 0 to 15, which is going to be, whoops, here we go, sort of in this range here, but we can kind of wiggle a little bit as needed, especially if we have like a large landmass that would pull the ITCZ and the more tropical temperatures and winds and waters and all that stuff away from the equator. But actually, I think your ITCZ would actually be incredibly equatorial because you don't have anywhere other than maybe like over here where you have, I don't know if you can see where my
Yeah, with
pointer,
that great mass, yeah.
yeah, that one might pull it up a little bit, but other than that, like you kind of have the two land masses and then the equatorial land mass. So otherwise, I don't think it would extend super duper far because I don't think you'd have a lot of seasonal variation there
That makes sense.
for the ITCZ. So we'll just kind of stick this. What's your tropical color? Orange.
Yes.
So maybe we'll see some rainforests here. Maybe we'll see like a little bit in here. Maybe along here could be rainforest. All in there. Just like some of that, maybe. And then probably a big chunk over here. And maybe like a little bit here. Something like that-ish.
Makes sense to me.
I feel like you would probably end up having a lot more, especially in this middle continent. I feel like you would actually probably end up having a lot larger rainforests there than like more tropical. I feel like there's a good chance most of this would be a little bit more rainforesty, if I had to guess. Madeline filling that in without ocean currents is just next level. You should see Ross do like climate zones. He just like looks at a map and is like, "Ah, yes, I know where the mountains are. Therefore, I can just tell you exactly which climate zone is everywhere." Like this is really rough. This is not necessarily correct. And if any of the like Uber world builders are on the chat, they can always tell us where we're wrong. Like I'm sure Ross could look at this and be like, excuse me, that's wrong. But we'll see. It's close enough for shenanigans, magically influenced shenanigans. Okay, so then the other thing is going to be our mountains, which we'll switch to an elevation map, and we'll just like, just so that we have them, we'll throw in some mountain ranges. Ross is such an enigma to me in the best way. I've read his words so many times. Yeah, he was joking yesterday that like if you've been in the world building community and you've seen anything of like mine or Edgar's or Artifactians or anything like that, then you've seen his work. You've been, how did he put it? You've been touched by his work.
That is fantastic.
Yeah. Yeah. He definitely helps us all out quite a good bit, which is nice. Just do like add some of these in. My world is in retrograde, and when I showed it to my colleague who teaches geology, the first thing he said was, "You're holding that upside down." I mean, that's a good sign, probably. Let's see. I was so sad I missed yesterday. Yeah, honestly, yesterday was an absolute hoot with everyone on it. It was so much fun to stream with Edgar. Like he was like really anxious about it beforehand because he's like, I don't know how like intense and like structured you are with these, and I was like, no, we're too chill. But I think Ross is going to be back in the next stream, so that'll be good. And yes, you can rewatch it. It's always a little bit less fun in a rewatch, but I would say it's worth rewatching. Oh, you were watching that before this one. Yeah, there you go. It's great. It's the way to go. Okay, let's finish adding roughly some indication here of all of these things. Yeah, I mean, if you want to interact with Edgar, honestly, the best way to do it is to become a patron, and he streams his work a lot for his patrons.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, it's really, really fun. He normally does like two, like normally one a week, but like it could be up to two. So like Fridays, I think every other Friday he streams like going through this really obscure like linguistic guide for this language. That's what he's working on, and then sometimes he streams drawing the maps for his like wherever he is for his world builders log. And there's only normally like 5 to 15 people in the chat, so like you can normally get him off on a tangent pretty easily if you want to.
Have you done that?
Obviously. I normally like to heckle him, especially anytime he does anything that touches glaciation at all. I like to harass him about that. It's my
I mean, but
thing.
it's fun. Yeah.
It's good. It's good. I was really tempted to reach out to someone else that is big in this community. Why is this not working? Why are you being so sad? My computer's being very sad, so this is going very slowly. I'm not entirely sure why. But World Building Pasta, or Nikolai, is also pretty big in helping out with a lot of stuff. And he is a geologist. And one of the things that Edgar was joking about on the stream yesterday was about how he finds rocks incredibly boring. And everyone was threatening to tell him. And I was really tempted to be like, hey, Nikolai, if you want to just like hop on a stream for 10 minutes and just rant about rocks, it'd be funny. Yeah, your computer's working so hard this weekend? Yeah. Honestly, that may be the problem. Oh, yes, as is customary, a good save, if it will even register that.
Terrible with that. Yeah.
Yeah. Let's see. There we go. There we go. Okay. Okay. Oh yeah, thank you for supporting my Ko-fi. It's always fun. Yeah, his Patreon is great. Like he actually gives you stuff for doing it. My Ko-fi is like that's all you get for it. But yeah, the glaciation. Okay. Why is this? Oh no. It would choose now when I'm actually trying to like be useful for someone else to be glitchy on me.
Just having a chill day, that's all.
Yeah, we don't got time for chill days over here. We gotta
Oh, I
go.
love fjords.
Okay. Oh wait, I missed some over here. Maybe like it's probably sufficient. Okay. Oh, you like the archipelagos? Yeah. Fjords, archipelagos. There's some good maps with archipelagos. Let me just tell you, I do not have enough of them on my map, my personal one, and it's something I deeply regret. Okay. So I think we have everything that we need to worry about right now.
I think so.
Other than colonization, but I feel like that's just like we'll talk to specific areas.
Yeah, like if we narrow it down and there's like only one spot that kind of meets all the others, then that kind of solves our question about which spot it's going to be in.
Truth. Okay. Yeah, not to say anything bad about Edgar's videos, but I get a lot of great insight and info from both of you. Yeah, I mean we have our the way we do our world building guides and what we share are both very different and therefore very different purposes. So we tend to go out it from different directions, and I think being able to see things from a lot of different perspectives helps because your perspective isn't going to be the same as mine or the same as his for what you're trying to do. So like getting multiple opinions, you know.
Just hearing it in slightly different ways to make it make sense. Yeah.
Exactly. Okay, so let's kind of go landmass by landmass and think about this.
And see if we can rule anything out.
Right.
Use all the videos, yes.
Yeah. So I think we probably want to avoid like you don't want your city to be like in a mountain, right? Like you're not trying to do like a mountain civilization.
No, exactly. Yeah.
Yeah. So we can definitely like rule this out. Same continent as jungle, ideally with a mountain to separate it. So you could probably pick an area up at the top, like any of these kind of
Somewhere in there.
regions. Yeah, that's a little bit more hilly, but I feel like that's low enough.
Yeah, I mean, hilly's fine. Yeah.
Yeah, so I feel like those would all work. Let's go over here. So we'll cross this out. This out. Yeah, this continent's just a no, probably.
That was my thought too. And that top one is probably a no as well.
Yeah, because we don't have any rainforest, so
No
we'll cross that off.
rainforest. Yeah.
This one has nothing.
Yeah. So kind of like I thought, the left two continents were probably going to be our choice.
Yes. Yeah, because down over here, kind of this region would definitely work. Because all of this is going to be a no. But then you have that a little bit of rainforest up higher.
Which is probably enough. Yeah.
Right. So then the question here.
Oh, somebody else is drawing the map right now too, just so in case you didn't see that in chat.
Ooh. Very nice. Very nice.
Map
Oh,
buddy.
yeah. I didn't ask at the beginning of the chat, but if you all want to tell us what you're working on.
Yes.
I always think it's fun to hear what everyone's working on. Especially for the people that have been doing it throughout the weekend. Wait, cancel? I don't want to close it. Save. Okay. Yeah, for the people that have been working through it this weekend and are like slowly making their way through like the different seasons of their precipitation maps and stuff. Can we show our map too? I don't think I have a way to do that right now. If you're in my Discord, you could post it there and I could try and see if I have a way to I could show it. Yeah, if you're in the Discord, I could probably figure out a way to pop it up temporarily. But otherwise, I do not logistically know how to make that happen.
As a side note, my favorite thing while doing the maps following your process, I don't know why, was doing temperature zones.
Yeah.
Building I don't know why I love it so much. Maybe it's because it's feels pretty methodical and it starts out looking like a rainbow and my favorite part.
Yeah, fair. Oh wait, Discord is banned in Turkey? I did not know that.
I love Discord.
It's the best. Yeah, okay, share your Reddit link and if people want to pop that up, they can do that. We can try and make that work. But okay, so colonization. So this is going to be, let's see, settled or colonized later than others. So do you have any sort of idea of what kind of your colonizing nation or entity, polity, I guess empire, we'll just call it an empire. Anything about where they would be coming from? Are they a more tropical base, temperate base? Are they a desert?
Considered that. I probably should have, but I didn't really consider that.
Okay.
In my kind of thought process is the continent where the story takes place is kind of a little bit more removed, and the other regions kind of all developed in sync, kind of, because they had more connection to each other. And then the one where the story takes place, more magic developed in that continent and not really in the other ones. And so when they discovered this continent, they're like, "Whoa, magic!" And all the other continents and civilizations basically went there to try and get the magic. So I kind of almost think almost every other continent and region would have and be putting stakes in ground in the continent that we're taking place in. Yeah.
Okay.
So everybody almost.
Okay, so then let me pull up, we'll go with a pinky gray color. And we'll try and take a look at this from a movement of people situation. So the projection that you have right now.
Greg says the bottom left continent, and I feel kind of smart because that was what I originally thought it might be.
Yeah, I think that's the most likely. The only problem is going to be this point right here and this point right here are actually incredibly close. So I'm trying to compare this to how it
ice fields.
Oh yeah, that'd probably be ice fields. But I'm trying to
really be having anybody down there anyways. Yeah.
Yeah. So like
So like,
there's less likely to
that
be
is
people down
true.
there. I don't think that would be frozen year like your north pole will definitely be ice covered year round. So like all of that is
Yeah.
going to be like touching probably some percentage of the year. And also again, that's going to be pretty close. Let me see. Hold on. Let me see if I can find. Where did I put? Oh my goodness. Okay, I have like. Let's see, do I have? Okay, so for a comparison, well, actually, this is a bad comparison. Where is? Blah, blah, blah. I have a sort of secret blog post available right now. It's semi-secret in that it's just not listed yet. Let me see if I can pull it up and we can look at that because I have basically my world map that's the same projection, then shown on a globe, so we can kind
Oh,
of
that's
get
so cool.
so we can get a good idea of where is it? Here we go. We can get a good idea of like how close your land masses would be, and also like if we need to like assume it's a little bit fudged, we can assume it's a little bit fudged. It's not the end of the
We can
world.
always do that.
Yeah.
So this globe that you were talking about possibly painting, is that the same globe or are you doing an Earth
Yes.
globe?
That is this one, which is
Real world?
yeah, this is the world I've been building. So
Oh, that's so cool.
it's been a very, very slow process.
And this is your story world or the one that you've been doing for the, okay, that's
Yeah,
really
this is the
awesome.
craft potion world.
Love that.
Okay, so I took my original map and stretched it, which like this is what it looks like
Yeah.
stretched. So it looked basically exactly like yours. I stretched it out. I put it in G plates. I put it in G projector. I think I have something that's centered on the poles. Let me find that. Yeah, so if we go up to the original map and compare the distances with yours,
Hmm.
so if we look at this, the North Pole area and yours here, that distance here is probably fairly similar to some of the ones you have in your South Pole.
Yeah, that makes sense.
And then the distance between this one and this one is going to be slightly further between your two northern continents, like over the wrap.
Yeah.
So, if I had thought of this beforehand, I would have just stuck yours in G projector and we could have looked at it on a globe, but I didn't think of doing that in
The
advance.
nerd in me is looking at this though and being like, this is so cool.
Okay, so this gap right here, that's how close that ended up being, but yours would be a little bit further apart.
A little bit further and with the islands down at the bottom there. Yeah, I see what you're saying.
Yeah, like here would be a little bit further, but like all of this here, that's all going to be really, really close. So I think unless you kind of were to consider those two land masses as being like essentially connected and like those sort of being like one isolated group, I don't think that would necessarily work out. And then these other ones are a lot closer. So then South Pole. Do I have South Pole on here? Yeah, so like this range right here isn't too crazy. But so like this, we were to kind of like isn't quite how it would work, but like they would definitely be very close, but I think it would be uninhabited enough that you wouldn't have too much of a crazy problem. And
Yeah.
also, hold on, which this is 60, this is 30, 90, probably your 75. Oh yeah, let me switch back over so that everyone can actually see what's happening. Hold on. Yeah, here we go. Sorry about that. Thank you. Yeah, I feel like you could make that work. And if you really, really had to, you could always just like
Remove those islands.
just pretend that maybe they're not actually
That
there.
is
Who knows?
definitely a possibility.
Yeah, because like here to here, like you
Decent
wouldn't.
space.
Yeah, yeah. It's not horrendous. It's not super far away though, but like they're not
Yeah.
connected. So I think that I think you could swing that they're further apart,
Mhm.
especially until like people are crossing like open oceans a little bit more easily. There's nowhere for their top to get there. Um, so I think you're definitely right. I think this is what we're going to be looking at. And then if we put rivers on there, it's probably you're going to have these main let's see, where would they be coming from for colonization purposes? So if they're coming from the central like equatorial continent,
Yeah.
definitely possible that oh gosh, let me pull up real quick. Uh, need a map real quick. So 30, 60. Yeah, so winds are going to be going. Oh gosh, is it going slow again? Kind of this direction. Wow, this is so useful when everything's frozen. Oh, oh come on. There we go. Okay. Yeah, so I think that in terms of them being able to get there, because like the westerlies would take them over, so like it might actually make the most sense for them to come from the western continent and come over this way first. Everything is frozen. Time to let it go.
Yeah.
Okay, there you go. Yeah, so I think it'd be really easy for them to come over from that little island. Whereas
Okay.
the I mean, not that it wouldn't be hard to come from the northern continent either, but I don't think it would necessarily make a ton of sense for them to come from here until they had more advanced sailing technologies, would just be
Yeah,
my thoughts.
exactly.
So,
No, I think you're right. That smaller right-hand continent would, for the first one to kind of get there, that
mhm,
makes the most sense.
yeah, like coming from here, or even like, I don't think there's anything saying that like they couldn't have done like a little something like this from that northern continent, but again, they wouldn't have found the southern part yet. I
Yeah.
think that this little window way down here would be not super likely to be the very first colonized
Just, yeah.
yeah, at least not like maybe in the southern portion, which like there's enough mountains here that like the colonization of the top part and the colonization of the bottom part, you could argue could have happened as separate like events.
Yeah.
So I think anywhere in there would definitely make sense, definitely along the river. If they came from that direction and then like sailed down the coast,
Yeah.
probably yeah, if you wanted it to be like the very first, they'd probably be looking to like set up a base of some sort. So like maybe if people ended up hearing about it and then like maybe if they came from the north and then came down and hugged the coast,
Yeah.
then they could have maybe been staking like in this more protected area and coming up this way.
Mhm. Yeah, that makes sense. And the other thing to think about too, and this is maybe when you're kind of thinking, chicken egg scenarios. I think somebody's question earlier about which came first. Um, being that I'm kind of developing the world and writing the story at the same time, like as we're doing this, we can kind of change the history of the world instead of it being the first colonized. Well, maybe we can come up with a reason why it wasn't, why it became the capital later, even though it wasn't the first established area.
Mm-hmm.
Like there's different ways that we can kind of do it backwards, almost like that, and having the world inform the story sometimes a little bit too, which could be fun.
Yeah. So is this meant to be the capital of the entire continent or like the capital of like a region?
So it's going to be the capital of the colonized region because not like the whole entire continent isn't colonized
Okay.
yet. And the area kind of up in that northern part of the continent would be the part that's not. The part in the middle would probably be in contestation, kind of. And
Hmm.
then the bottom part would kind of be this country, essentially. So it would be the capital of the southern part of this continent.
Yeah. Yeah. So I think it makes sense. Like, I think someone was mentioning this that like we're definitely looking like this part right here, this 75-degree line. Like, that's going to be relatively cold down there.
Yeah.
So having it this whole region, I just did a save. I actually remembered to do one here. Everyone's been so good at reminding me to save,
There's
especially
three.
because we're having so many technical issues with this. Um, but I think that in this region, like if you consider this whole thing a region, which is, I'm trying to, it's not a huge, huge landmass, but it's pretty big. Like I think this is something that could reasonably be controlled. Like having there be
Yeah,
something up in here, especially if there's like good resources in those mountains that are being exploited. Um,
exactly.
that would make a lot of sense. But yeah. And like there'd probably because in theory it would probably be easier um to to move into an area like this unless it's just I don't know. It depends on what the people would want, but you'd have to come up with reasons for why they went to the more polar area instead of like up here, which would be more like climate wise, more similar to where they're coming from.
Yeah. So I think I have a reason. The Magic Mountain.
Oh, that's a good point. That's a good
Mountain is-
point. Okay. Okay, so we've basically confirmed your intuition of where Kelderidge should be.
Actually, it's really funny because it's pretty much exactly where I guessed it might be.
Yeah. Well, and like that's the thing, like you can do everything like super not that we did this that formally or like super
Yeah.
fancy, but like intuition gets you really far. Okay, so what was the next step? What did we want to do next?
Put that Magic Mountain in there and be like, what happened?
Okay. Okay, so let's get rid of all my little squiggly bits there. Let's throw, can we do, what I'm going to do real quick actually is I'm going to create a copy of your like river
Okay.
so that we can just put it on top of your elevation level layer.
Sounds good.
Just, we'll get those right in there. And then put the elevation map. Okay. Okay. So then you want to place the magic mountain, which we can make like hot pink.
Love it.
Um, is there a link for your Discord? So the way my Discord normally works is it's like semi-private where I like randomly mention it in some super like world building videos. And then people just have to message me on my website. I have a contact form and just basically be like, hey, can I have the Discord link? And then I'll send you the Discord link. I just don't want to like post the link publicly because then you might get like a bunch of like random people that like, you know, I don't know. Keep the numbers relatively small.
Yeah.
Yes. So if you have your civilization along this river,
That would make sense. Yeah.
it could be very dramatic for it to be like on the southern side of it somewhere where it's
Okay.
just completely. But like honestly, this is far enough away that even like anything in this whole area would probably still be pretty noticeable.
Yeah.
Well, I just erased the river. Oh well. It's fine. Is there anywhere that like calls out to you as like the cool spot? Other than the fact
It's a
that
good
I'm
question.
see. There we go. New layer or the crazy mountain. Okay.
I think maybe if we where that first kind of like bend up goes, somewhere around that area might be an interesting spot to put it. Because what I'm thinking is there'll be the mountain, and then from the base of the mountain, like it's walking distance, they could walk into like start hiking it essentially. Like it'd
Mhm.
be a little bit of a walk, but not like a full day's walk kind of thing.
Okay.
Um,
Probably want to like straight up put it like right there then.
yeah,
Because like if you actually looked at like on a regional scale, like actually it
yeah,
probably could be like basically touching it. But on then
yeah,
on a regional scale, there could be like some portion of a day hike away or something.
yeah, exactly.
Do you like
To put
being in
it
the
forward.
bend there, or would you not want it in the bend?
Um, maybe we could put it a little bit farther, like in and up a little bit.
So like over here, or like next to one of the rivers?
Maybe a little bit farther into the north area. Yeah, maybe in that area. Yeah, perfect. Let's put it there.
Boom.
And then I'm thinking that maybe that where the original settlement would have been a bit closer to where that like corner of the bend, the rivers meeting would have been. Maybe that's where the settlement originally would have been. And then
So
it
somewhere
kind of
in
grew out from there towards the mountain.
yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. And this area, so like this is going to be probably okay. Let's see. We're doing maths again. So if that's 30 degrees, that's like 10 degrees, that's like that's let's see. How many are you miles or kilometers?
I generally do kilometers, but if you're easier speaking in miles, we can do that.
Well, we can do whatever because I'm just gonna like Google it. But like if this distance here is 30 degrees, then this distance is about 10 degrees. And that little distance right there is about that, which is probably about 2 degrees. Uh, I know everyone run. I'm doing my awful maths. 2 degrees,
It's just math.
2 kilometers. Come on, Google. Yes, every degree of latitude is approximately 111 kilometers. So right now, the distance between
Okay.
here to here is like 222 kilometers, which
Okay.
is
So
a lot.
probably too far.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So maybe we can move that mountain a little bit closer again. You're right. That's a good
Okay.
call.
Because like it's hard to tell because like right now like it's a global map, so
Exactly.
like maybe like right there,
Yeah. That's probably perfect.
yeah. And then like on a more smaller scale map, it would be a lot more uh far away. Like they wouldn't actually be touching.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. So now we want to. I had a moment there where my brain was trying to catch up to whatever I was doing. Okay, so we probably want to do a more like small scale map now. Like how small scale are we thinking?
What do you suggest? You're more experienced in this than I am.
Well, what do you want to use it for? Like, do you want like is your goal is you want like the city and a couple main things in the city and the surrounding areas, like the stuff that's in walking distance? Ooh, yes,
Yeah,
save.
sure. Maybe just like a rough sketch. Like we don't need to be like, here's where this street. No,
Yeah,
I don't know where those are. I don't know what those are. Um,
general, really general.
yeah.
Yeah. Okay, so then let's do um we'll do another map. We're going to make it smaller this time. I don't actually know how many pixels this is, but we'll go with that. This is going to be Calderidge. Okay. So I move everything around 87 times. So the big thing we'll want to copy is going to be this river. And we've said that it's going to kind of be on that inside side of the river.
Yeah.
So let's kind of, I would zoom in on the river. Confluence, the scale won't matter. Do you just mean like, wait, okay, I have the eraser on. That would undo. Oh, that's a bit big. So I mean, yeah, because like I don't want to like. I mean, because that's sort of what we're aiming to do here, which is a little bit, you know. Let's do a fun. I'm gonna pull up on Google Earth. Because unless you have like a specific like kind of shape layout in mind, it can always be fun to pick a random spot where there's a river. Just draw the river junction and fit the scale around that. The global map is an approximation.
Exactly.
Yeah. I mean, that's basically like going to be the vibe here, where like we'll have to some extent like river. It'll be sort of like that. But let's pick like a random place, and you were feeling some like South America vibes, so like let's pick a random place where there's a random river. Let me hold on. You share Google Earth. I think we can share that. I think that's fine. Also, don't laugh at all of my tabs. It's fine. This is like a river junction. I don't know if you want it like this broken out. Does any of this feel fun to you?
Yeah, that's it. That seems very fun.
Okay. Can I rotate this?
Excellent question.
Oh, no.
There is a legitimate need for every single tab.
Yes, because I feel like we want more of that kind of orientation.
Yeah, that looks perfect.
Okay. So we'll kind of copy this roughly where we'll change the opacity of that down, add a new layer. That looks like a dam. Nailed it. Okay. So, and I think that's a lot more zoomed out than you're going to want to be. So like realistically, we're more in here. But this doesn't need to be quite as like large, you know?
Yeah, it can just give us an approximation. Yeah.
Yeah. So we'll like be like here, kind of say this is a little bit more turned over like that. This one has more of a short there, rough idea, very rough idea. Probably should have just picked a slightly thicker, it's fine. There we go. Cool. Okay, we'll go with for the river. Do you want to add any like smaller rivers or just kind of leave it at this like general
Let's just leave it at the big one. I think that's fine. Yeah.
Okay.
We're still looking at the world map. Ta-da!
We have a river. Oh my gosh. Okay. So let's do like roughly how far of a walk do you want your epic mountain to be?
I would think so. Kind of what I'm thinking is the academy, the Magic Academy, is going to be like right up, kind of like starting into the mountain. Um, kind of like at the base of it, but up like just a little bit. So the academy is kind of like overlooking the city, like literally.
Mm. Mm.
And then you can walk from the academy into town no more than 2 hours, I would say, is kind
Okay.
of what I'm thinking. So like you can do it and go there and back in a day. It's just not something you would want to do constantly.
Right. Okay. So then we probably want to add in a little bit of a mountain. Boo, Germany. Uh, Judges score 10 England, 9 Sweden. I don't know what we're talking about. I don't know what that means. I don't know what any of this is. Is this like a sports thing? I have no idea what's happening. Does anyone else use their iPad for drawing maps? I switch back and forth. I do not. Drawing score. Oh. Okay. Yeah. So let's say, and it's just like a straight up like peak out of nowhere, right?
Essentially, yeah, like one big mountain, and then there might be like some hills that were generated from it, but essentially
Mm-hmm.
it's just one mountain, just one peak,
Okay,
because
so
magic.
because magic, exactly. So if we have this coming up like this, right, where it's mountainy, right? Something like Kilimanjaro. Well, I mean, Kilimanjaro came from natural processes. So I think the goal here is to have this be very unnatural processes,
Essentially, yeah.
but
Very many
and more
people will be like,
points.
"Why is there a mountain in the middle of nowhere?" Yeah.
Yeah, but I mean, Mount Kilimanjaro is actually semi. It's not fully, but it is semi isolated
Kind
from
I'm
city.
looking at pictures now and I'm like, "Oh, so pretty."
Yeah. Um. Yeah, we can maybe like
Yeah, kind of like that kind of vibe for sure.
yeah. The Devil's Tower, Lonely Mountain. Yeah, exactly. Just like one
Exactly.
little isolated mountain, all up here, and it's lonesome. Um. Okay, so then for your mountain that sprang up out of nowhere, right?
Yeah.
Is have you thought at all about the processes that did that? Like, is it something that just like pushed everything up? Was it like a volcanic event? Would it have been like new mass generated by magic? Like,
It would have been earth moved,
okay.
and basically like pulled in to cover something underneath the mountain, essentially.
So it would have kind of done like that sort of a thing.
Yeah, exactly. So
So
I'm kind of thinking, would the river have been close enough for it to have been impacted? It probably
I
would have
feel like,
impacted
yeah.
the lands kind of around it.
Okay. We're in theoretical
We can make up
geology
the
sphere.
rules.
So if you grabbed a section of the earth and just like pulled it up and was like, okay, we're gonna do this real quick.
Exactly.
Yes, I think something is in fact hidden inside of the mountain. This is another heist story, remember? Okay. So that earth would definitely get pulled. I feel like you definitely see some level of like rippling effects from this. Like if you were to pull up like a blanket, like let me do this in a temp layer.
Oh, that's
Like
a good example, a blanket.
yeah. Yeah, like I feel like you'd get some layer of like I don't really know how to
It's the
actually
One
draw.
Ring. It is not the One Ring, though that would be cool.
Like something where you have like some little like weird like
Oh, I love that.
rippling effects that would like come from that.
Yeah, and it would probably create like little rivers and like little lakes and stuff.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, like it would change how your drainage pattern here is working.
Yeah,
And then I feel like here's our river layer. I feel like it would absolutely mess with the path of this river.
the one going up and down.
Mm-hmm. I mean, I feel like it would probably affect both of them, but maybe that explains why the bottom one, like some of that wiggliness.
Oh, that'd be cool, yeah.
But what's like a really unnatural shape? Um,
Like almost like sharper edges almost. And for
oh,
context, if this helps, this is only like maybe 200, 250 years
okay. So
before
the
this.
river would have easily had enough time to reroute itself. I wonder if we could have like, so maybe when it first yanked it over, you had some level of like the river was temporarily diverted.
Yeah,
Because it probably would have created a low spot around it to pull all that
exactly.
land
That
up.
bridges some little valleys and depressions as well. Yeah.
Right. So maybe we would have some form of like uh some sort of like
Oh,
oxbow
almost like
kind of thing
twisted.
that maybe like then recut its own path, but like maybe there's still those remnants of it.
Yeah, maybe not as drastic as it was when it first happened, but yeah.
Yeah, oxbow. Yeah, exactly, exactly. Um and then which layer here? Yeah. So then we could also see if this is pulling it down. It's like if this pulled it up and in, I would also expect there to be some layer of like, wow, hold on, where the area around it almost has like a natural moat, like not that extreme, but like
Oh, like almost like concentric circles almost coming
mhm,
out of it, like
yeah, like
ripples.
almost like a ripple of like I feel like you could have something like that where there's I don't know how easy that is to like show in a without getting into weird shading nonsense, but some form of like, yeah, minor like little ring lakes, rechet structure. Let me Google that. Yes,
Yes,
you should Google that.
exactly. Oh, that looks so cool.
That is really,
Yeah.
really cool. Oh my gosh. Yes, I feel like that is exactly what we would see. Oh my gosh. Yes. That's
Basically put a city right on top of that.
yeah. Yeah. Um yeah, that's really cool. Yeah, so let's erase all of these shenanigans. We can always put something back in. But
I keep looking at this photo. That is incredibly cool.
it's so neat. Although then we may have to go back and slightly change how that river would have been diverted.
Okay, yeah. Kind of
But
like maybe through one of the rings almost.
yeah, like if it's that sort of a vibe.
Oh,
I
that is
think.
such cool mythology.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a very, very cool. Okay, yes. So maybe you have this. So let's go back to
Okay.
our river and kind of make this fit. Make the oxbow leg across the river. So you mean like it had been previously stretched out like this, but then got pulled in like that? Is that what you're saying, Craig? Because
Yes. Okay.
yes, okay. So yeah, we could do something like that where like it was then pulled in. And then you could probably have some like little lakes within these rings.
Yeah.
So we can do like, maybe you have some like just tons of little like
And like little streams that would be kind of flowing through them. And
mhm.
so this is a lot cooler than I thought it would be after I was like, just Magic Mountain in the middle of nowhere.
We can make it cool with our combined might combined or our might
Oh,
combined. Yeah, so if we do like Something like that. Maybe that's a thing.
Mm-hmm.
Then we could do, yeah, depending on how rainy it would be, you'd probably, yeah. I feel like at a high scale, that's kind of what that would kind of look like. So then I think, oh, Emma says this is a very cool idea.
Thank you.
So I'm trying to think if there'd be any other like large scale effects of this. I almost feel like this is kind of like anything else you do on top of this would kind of just take away the coolness of this like structure.
Yeah. Yeah, I think like keeping it a little bit localized to like almost like what you could walk in a day, day and a half kind of
Mm-hmm.
vibe.
Yeah, where it's like things seem fine, but then all of a sudden it's like, what on earth is this?
What just happened?
And then it gets
And I think you
weirder the
mentioned about
closer you get.
precipitation. I think I had it that in summer it's moderate in that area and quite getting to be moderate to wet in winter. So
Mm-hmm.
there'd be decent precipitation in the area
Mm-hmm.
to make those lakes and feed those lakes.
Yeah. Okay, so let me add another little layer real quick and just write up here so that we don't forget.
Unique weather patterns. I didn't really think of anything particularly unique for this area. I think, especially since it's being a little bit of a colder area, like honestly, we're thinking mostly snow is going to be happening. Potentially, you might get blizzards. Yes, Greg, yeah, your point about hiking speed. So, how close the city's going to have to be is a lot closer than I think we were originally thinking, just because going up and down those ridges would take a little bit more time.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so we're
Always.
probably looking at like this being, well, I'm trying to wonder if we need to like, I mean, you can like the shape of them, like none of the shapes of any of this is exact, right? Like this is all rough.
Yeah,
So like
this is
that mountain
approximate.
could be a lot more like
Yeah.
it needed to be. Slash, if this is like, so if a 10-hour hike would be 40 to 60 kilometers over flat terrain, it's not quite flat terrain to get to it. So maybe like 30 kilometers for 10 hours. You're looking for like 2 hours.
Yeah.
So like maybe like 6 kilometers.
So it would probably be like right in some of those, like maybe the second or third kind of ridges. Like that's
Mhm.
probably in there. Like the city would have to be growing up out of those ridges and into it,
Mhm.
essentially,
Yeah. Which like
either on
you
the
could do
south or
some really
side.
weird stuff
With the
with
city.
a topology like this. Like I'm just imagining like all the like interesting like irrigation options and like
Oh yeah.
cuz like it would be like
It would
rooms.
be a weird spot to put a city for sure.
It could be like
But
really neat.
near the magic of the mountain. So
Yeah. Okay.
you have to
So,
find a way to make it work.
yeah. Okay. So, if we get, yeah, swells and berms, yes, exactly. Perhaps the city could be in the third ring near that lake.
Yeah.
Yeah, like somewhere like over here. Is that what you're thinking?
Yeah, I think that could work quite well.
Okay. So then how extensive, like how large scale do you expect like the city to be? Because like the city could be pretty big if this is like,
Yeah. So I'm not sure what I'm assuming that there probably would have been some communities in that area before this mountain went up, but I don't know if we would have had like a city or anything beforehand. People came because of the mountain.
mhm,
At the point in the story, I'm thinking it'd probably be so the vibe we're going for in this world is like early New York is essentially the vibe we're going for, like
mhm,
early 1800s. So population, I think around that time was probably close to about 500,000, if I remember correctly. So
Okay.
that's kind of what we're thinking.
Let me see if I can look up like how much land was actually covered.
Oh,
Let's
that's an excellent point. I did not research that.
see.
Gilded Age. I don't think I've seen that one yet.
1800. In 1800, city had a population of 60,000. By 1900, it swelled to 3.4 million. And then it grew from lower Manhattan, especially below 14th Street, to the entire island. Let's see. Oh, Gilded Age. I've heard about it, but I haven't like looked into actually doing it yet, or actually watching it yet. Trying to find a map that shows New York beforehand.
Putting that Gilded Age on my list of shows to watch, which is growing, I swear, every week.
Yeah, so I feel like it wouldn't have been super duper huge, but I feel like it wouldn't be unreasonable for the city to be like the city proper to be like that big,
Yeah.
maybe
And then
slightly bigger than
slowly
that, and then
growing
like
over time. Yeah.
yeah, you could have like a little like you'd probably have like a little port town,
Exactly.
little things down like you know wherever you wanted to have them.
Yeah, down along there, that makes the most sense. So I
Mm-hmm.
think like before this all happened, that would probably have been like pretty good farming area considering the amount of precipitation. It was relatively flat. So I'm thinking like that's what would have been in the area beforehand.
Mm-hmm.
And then now like the city is basically in the middle of farmland in cold area,
Mm-hmm.
which doesn't make a lot of sense except for the mountain. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, and I mean a lot of like cities like they would have had decent levels of like they would have probably like the whatever agriculture was there might have gotten like more intensive to support the
Yeah.
population of the city and stuff. So if we say this is where your city is and it's recent growth, do you have like a city wall?
Hmm. I hadn't thought about it, but being that it's still like a relatively new area and everybody wants the magic of the mountain, probably a city wall isn't a bad idea.
Mm-hmm. Right, like whoever like is taking control of the mountain because there's probably like a couple of paths through depending on how extreme you want these to be. Like there might be a few paths into the mountain that could be easily controlled where you could even have like tower defenses or something where it would be like, little border checkpoints to make sure like
Yeah,
to collect taxes on or tariffs on people trying to travel the mountain or I don't know how that would work in your world,
like
but
and
like
over in that like by the river, that little port town probably would have similar ones like that.
mhm.
City wall in 1800 is obsolete. Oh, that's a good point.
That is a good point. So, if
Yeah.
assuming like you'd have like firearms to some extent and like
So
cannons or
we
whatever.
don't have gunpowder, but we do have magic users that would basically fill that role.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. So like a city wall. So I think that like a city wall probably then, Greg, you're probably right, wouldn't make sense, but I think you could have a small level of like gates almost, like blocking certain passes if that made sense. Like if there is like an entity here that's trying to control the major like paths in.
Okay, yeah, I see what you're saying, like monitored at the border of the city proper kind of thing.
Right, like, are they trying to restrict people from getting to the mountain? Because, like, right now, like, anyone could come from any direction and, like,
I don't
pilgrimage
think,
their way
yeah,
there.
I don't think like you could reasonably restrict access to the mountain. So I
Mhm.
think like that would probably be a futile kind of effort.
Right, it would have to be, like, what they're saying where, like, you could have, like, some forts on the top of the hills for being able to, like, if you had those spread
Yeah.
out, if there are certain passes that would be more transportable or not, you could have some there. Like, if there was a group that could profit greatly off of it, I think it could be done.
I think more than anything, you'd probably see things like highway patrol, monitoring from like that bridge port town into the city, where like you would have like lots of trade coming in and like imports coming in. You'd
Mm-hmm.
probably see more like like highway patrol or things like that.
Mm-hmm.
Would probably be more what you would see rather than like actual formal walls and stuff.
Okay.
So that would probably
Okay.
make the most sense. Yeah.
So we could do like a really rough, like, say we want to pick we'll pick like a gray real quick as like a road color, but like presumably like down here you'd have some level of
Yeah.
city down there, some level of road up this way,
Yeah. And like communities along the river. Yeah.
right? Some level of something.
Yeah.
You'd probably have like the road coming like up in this way into the city. And then I'm trying to see like, have railways been invented yet in the civilization?
Almost like we're like right on the precipice. It's starting. There's talk of it. It just hasn't reached this area. It's not there yet.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so then would there be like some proper paved roads leading from the city to the mountain? Or like maybe not paved, but like.
There'd be like actual like relatively kept roads, especially between like the city and where the academy is.
Mm-hmm. So they might be something like.
Beginning of industrial. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So maybe you have something like this going on.
Yeah, I think that's perfect.
And then you said your academy would be a little bit of the ways up the mountain.
Yeah, so it could like physically look down upon the city, but still be within reasonable walking distance.
So maybe we have like, I don't know, I don't know. I've decided your academy looks like a little castle.
It is a little castle.
There we go. Where is there we go. Someone was asking how big the area being drawn is.
That's an excellent question.
I mean, like, the path from that little star to the base of the mountain or the academy, we were thinking was probably like a few kilometers.
Yeah, to walk that path like a couple of hours for sure.
Mm-hmm. So it's not
Like
like
so that
crazy.
somebody could like come down the mountain, walk into town, do a little bit of shopping, walk back up the mountain in
Mm-hmm.
one
Yeah. So
cut
then,
travel. Yeah.
yeah, that makes sense. Make this a little bit bigger again. Okay, so like maybe there's like a little bit of a well, I spot there. We'll say. Um, so then we'll go back to like 4, and then you'd have like a little like probably like a switchback kind of path up the mountain.
Up the mountain. Yeah, that makes no sense. Yeah, very similar to Denver. Exactly.
Mm.
Which I was just there a couple weeks ago. Very pretty.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I was.
Wait, did I
I
know
just
that?
I don't know if I told you that. Yeah, I went down there for work for a week and it was very lovely.
Go with that. Yeah, I was just there in July.
All right, yeah, I saw your video. Yeah.
It's a lot of fun. Okay. So we have little tiny funny road, which honestly, like, if you wanted it to be like a little shorter, what we could probably do just to make this area be a little bit bigger, you
Mm,
could probably have like if we're considering these lines to be like the high points, right?
yeah.
Didn't you climb a glacier, Madeline? Yes, I did climb a glacier. It was the
Which is,
best.
to be doing that like in the summer, it is so cool. Yeah.
It was so weird. Like, especially because literally in Denver at the time, there was a heat wave and it was over 100 degrees and it was so hot. And then, like, we drive up, an extra mile up because basically one of the points that we passed on the glacier was the 2 miles up point. And, like, It was great. Yes, there's a lot of joy. I'm already planning a trip. I mean, by planning, I mean I figured out when it would make the most sense to do a trip to Iceland with my family, probably summer of 2026 is
That's
what we're
so
kind of
cool.
thinking. And there's so many glaciers to climb, and like I really want to go to Svalbard, which is just all like all ice. I just go in the winter and like, run around. Be
Oh,
so
that's
good.
fantastic.
Be so good. Okay, but what I was thinking was it might make sense, especially given that they would already have like built a road up into the mountain for them to just have
Yeah.
like a little bit of a switchback like up over this sort of a thing.
Yeah.
Like that.
No, something like that would make absolute sense for this world.
Okay. All right. So we have this so far. You probably have like at the base of the mountain, you'd probably have like some sort of like little something at the base, like whether or not it's just like a spot for like some sort of
Like a
patrol
little
or
town or
something.
something, like a village. Yeah.
Yeah, like something like a little boop, 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 something little. I don't know. Do that. Is this foot traffic or carts?
I think there's going to be both. Because they definitely would have carts to get like supplies up into the academy.
Mm-hmm. Okay. So we could say there's a little village there. Is there anything else like other than the city? Is there anything else of note over here?
No, the academy, the mountain, the city, those are the big things in this area.
Okay. So, oh yes, save. File, save. Oh, did I not? Oh, did I not save this yet? Save. Okay. All right, there we go. So now let's talk the city.
All right.
Who are foot traffic would be stairs, hence the question. Yeah. Yeah, so I feel like it probably makes the most sense for there to be switchbacks and then maybe you have a few
Yeah.
like stairs connecting some of the bigger ones for if you just had foot traffic.
Yeah.
But I feel like at this scale that's
Picture
kind of
like
hard to
this castle to be like one of those things they almost like built it into the mountain. So like the lower part where you can kind of get in would be a little bit lower down on that hill. And then like it kind of like builds up
well, we can
multiple levels.
hold your horses. We can do that.
Oh, we can do that.
We can do that. Hold on, let me erase our little friend there. Let's go up to like a 6. So different tiers of it, right?
Yeah, like it's all connected. You could walk inside it, but like from the outside, it would almost look like different pieces, like little different castles almost,
Mm-hmm.
making one big castle.
I feel like I was just looking at a picture of a
You
castle that
can
was
dream it,
actually
you can be it. I love that.
yes. I feel like I was literally just looking at a picture of a castle that was sort of yeah, like
Terrace,
a terraced.
exactly the world, the word.
And the vibe. No, I don't want to see pictures of Minecraft. That French castle.
Okay, yeah. So the mountains formed before anyone settled there, then settlers. So there was like people in the area, but it wasn't like heavily like a city. There would have just been smaller communities. And then this mountain was formed by magic. And because there's magic basically radiating off of the mountain, um, they moved there for the magic. How high up the mountain in feet or meters is the academy? Madeline, what do you think would make reasonable sense?
You want it to be high enough to be above the like berms to give you view of the city, right?
Yeah.
I mean, it's probably not that crazy up high.
No, I wouldn't think so. Like you wouldn't get like elevation effects, I don't think.
No, it's not even going to be like I doubt it would either be like half a mile up, like maybe
Yeah.
like well, actually no, maybe you probably would. I would say you probably want at least 400 feet in elevation gain. Um,
Okay.
yeah, like something anywhere between like that and like 1,000 feet would probably make sense. Because like I'm trying to think of like the elevation, like the relatively steep hikes that I've done. Yeah, I think probably somewhere in that range would probably make sense. Because if the normal berms of sorts are like maybe like 400 feet, maybe like in
Okay.
the 200 to 400 feet of kind of rise and fall, then maybe up here you're getting like in the 800 to 1,000 feet of elevation gain,
Yeah.
which is still hikeable. And well, no, because you want to be able to hike down and walk all the way out to the city. So maybe like 1,000 feet. 1,000 feet of elevation is a lot to hike, especially in a short distance. So I
Yeah.
think it's probably more likely to be maybe the bottom of it
500.
is more in the like maybe it's only like 200 or 300 feet up, kind of.
From the city. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, from like that base level. And then
Yeah.
parts of the city would probably be higher up on a berm. So
Yeah.
like it wouldn't be that hard to see it, you know?
Well, and the thing too is like the very top level of the castle would be like that higher bit, maybe about 200 or so feet above where the city is. But the
Mm-hmm.
lower part of it would probably be almost like maybe a little bit above the elevation of the city, but not a whole lot.
Right.
Just enough that they can look down on everybody.
Right. Oh my gosh. So let's say we do something like
Oh, I just saw the question from earlier. So they can use the magic emanating from the mountain? Yes.
okay, so we're thinking no one point out the fact that I haven't labeled a single layer. It's fine. I don't you don't have Photoshop, right? So like I'm just sending you like a screenshot or an export of so the layers don't matter.
Yeah, yours look so much nicer than mine. All my maps are made in paint.
That's fine. That's fine. So yeah, I think we're looking at we'll say like 300 feet ish. Snobs. Are you telling Ross on my unlabeled layers? How rude.
Yes, similar size to Earth. Yes,
Okay.
just for simplicity and ease.
What were we calling the visibility calculation? Fancy, fancy. Greg's here checking all of our maths and numbers, keeping us realistic here. Helpful. Tattletale. Okay, so we were calling this what were we calling these? These are like berms and something
Mm.
posted this in the chat. And I was like, ooh, yes, that's the thing. And then I've already forgotten what it was.
Oh, I'm the
Swells
same
and
way.
berms. So berm and swells. Okay, so Salzburg Castle, also known as Hohensalzburg Fortress, is located on, oh my god, why are you doing this to me? Festungsberg Mountain, which is about 500 meters above the city of Salzburg. Totally doable in 40 minutes, just a lot of steep ramps. Okay, 500 meters. Meters. How many meters go to feet? Maybe I do mean okay, hold on. Let's 3 feet per meter.
Roughly, yeah.
Okay, so if that's doable, if you can do 500 meters in 40 minutes, you can definitely be at least okay. Yeah. So my mental
Okay,
maths were definitely off there. Chat to the rescue. Um. Okay.
love it.
So if that's 40 minutes to do that, then you could probably walk the rest of the way back pretty quickly. So I think you could probably like maybe go like 700 meters. And then that
Okay,
part of the trip is probably like an
you
hour.
you love that.
So 700 meters, 1 hour. and then maybe the rest of the walk is like,
A little bit easier to stroll. Yeah.
right, like maybe like an hour and a half, depending on how quick you're
Yeah.
moving. 150 feet ish. I'm good at maths. Go for the maths. Yeah. Okay. So then the rest of it would be like. So the whole trip would be like maybe 2.5 hours if you're like
And that's perfect.
booking
Yeah.
it. Also, the Edinburgh Castle in Scotland. Yeah,
Oh,
that's true. I
that's
don't
a
know how
great
tall it is,
example.
but it's really easy to get to. That is kind of the vibe a little bit.
That very much the vibe. Yeah, you captured that.
Height. How high up is it? It stand. Oh, well, that's not super helpful. It's 443 feet above sea level.
Okay.
But how high up is it from like, I don't know, the
The
base of
base
the
of
Royal
the
Mile?
city there.
Yeah. What are we looking at? Height above city. The trail takes about 32 minutes to walk up to it, but it's definitely less. Like if it's only 135 meters up, and that
Yeah.
takes like the difficult path takes about 32 minutes, then maybe we want it to be like 500 meters.
Yeah, that
This is
works.
probably the level of details where you're like, I don't care exactly how many meters it is. Come on, people. I care about
But it
minutes.
gives us like good visualization. So
Yeah. We'll say 500. We'll go back to 500 meters. We'll say that's about an hour. I think that's realistic. 2.5 hours total. Cute little villages. Yeah, because I feel like what you'd probably see too is like in these areas where like the water is super like
yeah.
together in these little like lakes and stuff. Like I could see some interesting little bits of farming and stuff there, but
Yeah.
to pass by. Okay, so then let's talk the city. Now that we
Okay.
have the cute little castle up there. So what are we thinking? Just adding another layer for the city. Like I have, and actually let me post. Okay, so if 500 meters in elevation change, you can see for 80 kilometers providing good weather. So yeah, so if this is only a few kilometers away, you'd easily be able to see the city.
Yeah. See the city down across the rivers. It would just be gorgeous.
Yeah, brilliant. So you get to see all the weird, crazy, like the
Exactly.
view would be spectacular.
It's just amazing.
Okay. Thank you, Greg, for the win. So the thing which I don't think we need to go this like intensive into, but I have my city planning notes that I've been using for my city, which we're not
Okay.
going to
Yeah.
go this in depth. Let me post this in here. But we'll oh, that's the wrong one. Hold on. Share. That link won't do anything for you.
See Russia from this castle.
Okay. So the first thing that I think that we want to place is like maybe any of your like administrative center stuff. Like, is there a castle? Is there a government building? Like, who is in charge of this city?
So it is called a democracy, but that's a bit of a stretch. Um, so there is like a government council, I guess you would say. And so there would be like a hall. It wouldn't be necessarily a castle, but it would be like
Mhm.
a big formal, this is the big showy building of the city. That would
Right.
probably be right smack dab in the center, I would almost imagine, or somewhere impressive looking
Yeah, probably up on one of the like
on
the
the
little high
hill.
spots so that they can like whatever. Just pretend that's a bit okay, I can't do it. I can't do it. Okay. We'll just like make it a big building. That's your fancy people.
Okay.
And then they can like see down on everybody else.
And then they can also see, like, you could see the roads going in and out of the city. On the
Mm-hmm.
other side, they'd be able to see the academy. Yeah.
Right. So that's your like. government building.
Yeah.
So then what other like type of important things are relevant? Like market centers, like defensive military buildings, like stuff like
I feel like
that.
we probably don't have like a ton of military buildings, but things that would be important to note, again, the city, I'm assuming that like any community, like communities that would have been in here when the mountain went up probably got like kind of destroyed. So pretty much almost everything in here would be less than 200 years old.
Right.
So fairly new city, but even more so than that, there would be a section of the city, like as it would have been growing out, there would have been an area of the city that would have been kind of new about maybe 15 years prior to the story that that entire area exploded for magic reasons.
Mhm.
So that would be like completely new. And I'm thinking that area, wherever we place that, is going to be like kind of the slums.
Okay.
So wherever that's going to be placed. And then the other things to maybe note, they do have like a relatively new police system starting. So that's, they would have like, and by new, I mean probably within the last 30 years or so.
Mm.
Um, so there'd be the main police station would be somewhere in here. And hmm, commerce would probably be closer to, I'm thinking that main road kind of
Mhm.
as you go into the city.
Yeah. Let's do
The
like
only
just
other building that might make sense to throw in there is that there is kind of like a newspaper.
okay.
Wherever we would put that, that would make sense.
Okay, so let's start with the place that got blown up. Is that visible from the academy, or would that be in one of the low spots, or would it be
I
in a
would,
high spot?
that'd be a good question. I'm thinking it'd probably be farther like southeast
Mhm.
of where the city is,
So like
because
over
it'd
here.
be where it's basically growing into, that's where it happened. So probably, yeah, somewhere in that area over there is what I'm thinking.
Okay, so let's do just to give like the feel of like because this is like a relatively planned city, right? Like it's kind of
Yeah.
like you would maybe have just for vibes, like maybe some sort of like grid system of streets of some form. Who knows? The specifics don't really
Already
matter.
government building, I like it.
Hmm. Yeah, we're like maybe we'll have various.
Oh, would there have been an earthquake when the mountain appeared? That's an excellent question.
Probably like massive. I would
Yeah,
guess. Right?
that would have kind of rippled out to like where the rivers kind of go out to. Yeah.
Hmm. Gonna pull up. I
So
had a map.
anything, any settlements that would have been in there probably would have been pretty devastated by it.
Right. It's probably like all the way up to here. Various vibes of city.
And just like keep growing and expanding. Yeah.
Right. So the earthquake that would have happened would have been before this city came
Yeah.
to.
The more recent thing that would have exploded part of the city, that would have definitely impacted a portion of the city.
Hmm. Yeah, I'm trying to like make everything look relatively uniform up to that point so
Yeah.
that then we can like make that point look crazy.
Ooh, actually, I think that the bit that would have exploded would have been up on one of the ridges.
So up
So
this
probably
one or maybe
on
this
the
one.
farther out one, I think. Yeah.
This one.
Yeah.
So let's expand it out as if it hadn't exploded yet.
And then we can,
Yeah. Is that Public park slash space around the lake. Yeah, you
I
could
can
have
almost
something.
actually imagine that that is where like the rich people would like get their own little like estates on the
Yeah,
edge of the city on the lake.
yeah, they have their own little like.
That'd be
Oh,
your gated community.
yeah, something over there.
It would be a beautiful lake.
Oh yeah. Okay, so then let's say you had something that blew it up, like right here.
Yep.
And then now this is like the slums.
Yes.
So let's say they maybe sort of bothered to like, how can we make this look super distinctive? Probably like, because you want it to intentionally look different.
Yeah, exactly. That you're like, what heck? What happened here?
Yeah. So like, what if they did? Okay, we can like redo this like 87 times if we need to. Like something weird where they started with more of like a radial kind of
Yeah.
thing. And it's like super tiny streets.
And just kind of patchworked in. Yeah.
Yeah. If
I
they
like
went,
it.
it'll at least you'll kind of know what that is.
Exactly.
Okay. So yeah, some of
Okay.
that sort of thing. Sort of
So then that
vibe.
road coming in from the east, that section over there, I'm thinking would probably be the like your markets and commerce and all of that.
Mm-hmm.
And your slums down in the bottom right there. That makes sense.
Mm-hmm. Just something. So then where's this? That's our little label color. So that's our government building. This is our post explosion slums. I'll pick a neon color for the slums. Well, we can like color under the roads with just like the general vicinity of it. But like if you're thinking any industry, manufacturing,
Hmm.
mining, etc.
That is an excellent question. I would think probably more in the lines of manufacturing, more of an industry town.
Right. Okay, so you'd wanted to mark the post-explosion slums. You wanted to mark maybe like the newspaper, right?
Yeah, and where would make sense to put the police station?
So typically, what you'll have is you'll have your administrative center, and then outside of that, you'll have like maybe defense or military, and then outside of that, you'll start seeing like production and like layers of like
Yeah,
farming and shenanigans like that.
yeah,
Um, or market anything in administrative or like the rulers, defense, then probably like markets and stuff like that, like any goods coming through, because they would want to be protected to an extent. And then probably
yeah.
outside of that, then you'd start to find other things.
Okay, so being that we know where our Capitol building is,
Mhm,
and we already kind of established that by the lake, that is where the rich people are going to live,
mhm.
it kind of would make sense then probably to put like the main police station close to that, like the
Yeah, like
left
both of those.
side.
Yeah, like
Exactly.
right
And then
here.
there might be like smaller ones over by where the market center is. Yeah.
Where like one could be your police center, and then you could always
Yeah.
have like other like that could be your major one. Then you could
Yeah.
always have like some.
Little ones that are kind of like near wherever your industry is, like when you have like the markets and all of that. Yeah.
Mhm.
Probably not near the slums and not near where you have like your manufacturing offices and such.
Yeah.
Ooh, source of drinking water.
one of the lakes or the main river. Or there could probably be some level of wells. You'd probably have well technology too.
I think at that point, yeah, they should have well technology. But I'd be surprised if they weren't also taking a little bit out of maybe some of the lakes as well.
Yeah.
Given the rainfall and everything coming in, it'd be probably relatively fresh.
Right. Okay, so police center, what's next?
Where would you put like things like newspapers and like printing presses and those kinds of.
So that would sort of be your small scale industry, which if we
Yeah.
look at my cheat sheet, that goes in the production center. So
Ooh,
you'd
fire
have your
station.
administrative center, defense or military, we already have that first bit. So then market center and then production center. So your markets would probably actually be a little like more central, and your production would maybe be like it depends. Are the newspapers more for like the rich people or the normal people? Or everybody?
Probably like middle to upper class, I would say.
Then I could see it being like somewhere like over here maybe.
Okay.
Sort of that, because then it's like slightly higher up, like you can sort of head out to either the like slightly middle class, the slightly
Yeah,
higher class, like
that
but it's
makes
also
sense.
a little bit further away from that super important area.
Mhm.
Okay. So what else do we got?
Those are like I'm thinking story wise, what's important, and I'm like
Mhm.
that basically covers the most important things currently in my plot.
Mhm.
Ooh, fire station. That's a good call.
Yeah. Fire stations, those would be probably more like spread out in various regions, right?
Mhm.
Like
Especially if they have wells and stuff too. Like obviously there'd be one closer to the lake, but
mhm.
international communication systems. No, they are basically sending letters.
No,
They're not
like
quite there. They don't have like telegrams or anything yet. Like I think they're close, but they're not quite there yet.
right. They're on the cusp of an industrial revolution, maybe.
Yes.
Okay. So, how are people getting here?
I'm thinking carrier pigeons. I mean, I'm not going to rule out that there's carrier pigeons. Um, I'm thinking people coming into the city
Mhm.
would probably be coming up that river, um, because it's probably a fairly decent sized river. You could have some coming by boats. Right now at this level, carriage is still the one of the main modes of transportation. They don't have trains quite yet.
Right.
Um, so for now, it'd probably be by boat and by carriage.
So you probably have some form of like docks over there
That would make
for
sense.
people
Like,
coming up the
yeah.
river. Um, yeah, I think that would make sense. What else do we need? Do we need anything else? Is there any other shenanigans we
No.
want?
I like again when I'm thinking of like story reasons, those are the only things I could come up with. But I know like that's very basic, but
Well, I mean, like, it's kind of based off just what you sort of need, or good source of firewood. Yeah, like I'm assuming this whole thing is surrounded by like, which actually, are these grains like a grain based civilization?
ooh, I would think probably
Okay.
given the temperature climate, I'm
Hmm.
thinking that probably makes sense.
So we can like, just for vibes, throw some like various wheat fields.
Oh yeah, I would think that like the rest of the area kind of surrounding it is very much going to be farming communities for sure.
Yeah, especially probably around. I don't know why I crossed that one. It's fine. Um, especially probably near your water sources.
Yeah.
And then probably also like
Yeah,
even
you'd
a
have like
little bit.
little smaller communities that would be kind of like growing some local produce and stuff right in there.
Mm-hmm. Because this would all probably be really easy to irrigate. Off on the sides away from where the rich people are, of course.
Yeah, because of course, because they're all snobs. And then I would think that probably once you get like a little bit farther away from the city, you would have like forested areas as well. That would probably be providing that firewood.
Well, so the firewood is going to have to be very close to the city, closer than your wheat fields.
Oh, interesting. Okay.
Yeah, but those would be like probably maintained forests.
Yeah, I would think so.
So you would probably have like in this sort of thing, like you'd probably have some like maintained forests, like sort of on the edges of all these areas where you would get your like firewood from.
Yeah,
Basically
that makes
anywhere that's
sense.
going to be not as good for building or for like small scale, like niche gardening and stuff.
They might have cleared some of that out when they started expanding the city, but they'd still have it like really close by.
Right, like they'd have just kept pushing it kind of thing.
What latitude are we at here?
Oh, let's pop over. So one of your maps has more latitude lines, I think. So this is just below your 60 degrees south. That's probably like
Okay, so we're definitely getting up into like Alaska territory.
um I'm horrible. I can never remember without actually looking at it where anything is. I don't even know what latitude I live at, completely honestly. Okay, let's see. So 60 degrees. Yes. Okay. Yes. Yeah. Honestly, you are pretty much in Alaska territory.
Mhm.
Alaska or like Anchorage, you're probably at the same latitude as Anchorage. Um, you're a little bit north of Oslo. You're well north of like the UK. You're not as far as like you're just barely into Finland.
Okay.
Or if we're is there anything what's that far south? There's no
So
other than Antarctica. There is nothing that far south.
yeah. But yeah, the day night cycles that Greg is mentioning, I hadn't even thought about that. That would be so cool as something to make sure I'm including in here
Mm-hmm.
because I think the time area that we're thinking is like we're that my story is taking place would be kind of like fall time. So like how short the days, like the sunlight would be, is going to be something that could be really fun to play with.
Right. Yeah,
And
like if
like
I
getting
had
into
to guess.
this and basically having like a no sun day, I think would be really fun.
Yeah. Yes, I think that's sort of what you'd be looking at. And obviously, like, it could look nice and be fancy. Will we meet a sparkly vampire?
No, no sparkly vampires. Sorry. Happy accidents.
Yes, no mistakes. This was a very important shirt to wear for this today.
We do love it.
Yes. Okay, so whoa, that just did weird stuff when I clicked on it. Okay. So I'm trying to go through if there's anything. I'm gonna like read through a list. How viable? Well, technically, they're south. How far viable is farming? I mean, you would have farming here. Like that's fine.
Yeah. I mean, it'd be difficult, obviously, in the winter, and you'd have to make sure you store a lot because, again, like was just mentioned, short growing season.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, but like honestly, you like depending on like you're pretty far inland, so it's probably a little bit more. Save.
And as for viability of farming, so because it's a magic world, we do have a little bit of a cheat that we do have some people who have magic ability that can assist with plant growth. So that will help with the fact that this is such a short growing season. I
Mm-hmm.
think we can kind of compensate with magic a little bit here.
Yeah. Yeah, and like this is a wet region,
It is,
and
yeah.
it gets pretty cold. So like definitely like it's gonna get pretty snowy. But this isn't a region. This is a region where we're not going to have year-round permafrost. Like it's kind of on the. Just remember that. It's like
Which is kind of what we need, I think, for story purposes. Yeah.
yeah. So like the farming might not be as productive as it could be other places, but combined with magic and combined with like you would be using crops that are more adapted to this climate. There are different variations of different grains that would do just fine. Like you'd probably have a decent mix of like some more cold hardy crops as well in there too. But I mean, now that you kind of have an idea of like the latitude, like you can look at different civilizations that were around
Exactly.
in a similar time period and just like what were they eating, what did they have, and like you know do that sort
Yeah,
of a
to kind of
thing.
inform the story based on the location, which I think is actually really fun. Not having, like, I had the few things that were very specific for story reasons that kind of helped us pick the location, and now
Mm,
using the location to help inform the story. I think that going back and forth is super cool.
yeah, it's one of my favorite things about it because like there's just so many little things that like you can't think of all of this stuff just off the top of your head without like having a world, but like also you want it to serve the specific story you want to tell. It's just I don't know, it has a lot of fun. Um, if it is fairly wet, then you could have some sort of fictional rice species, right? There are definitely some relatively colder, hardy like rices that could have been
Yeah.
domesticated pretty thoroughly, which could be fine. I feel like you tend to see more like grains and tubers, but like I feel like or more like wheat style grains versus rice
Mhm.
style, but I feel like all that would be possible. Oh my goodness. Okay. Is there anything else that we need? Because we are in the spot right now where I have. What time is it? It's 4. It's just about 4 o'clock. So I have another hour. I can go anywhere from literally if you're like I'm done, I want to go do stuff. Let's split. We can split now, or we could go longer. Like I am flexible.
What do you think would be smart to include in our planning here
Hmm.
for giving
Never
texture
wanted to
to the
say.
world?
Um. Hmm. Okay, let me think because this is we're specifically like this is the story in the same time period that like I am currently reading your
The
draft of
one
right
we are currently reading, yes.
now. Yeah. Um, I mean like maybe if there's like okay, actually, I have a really good point. Where are the
Hmm.
cemeteries?
That is an excellent question because we do need to know where the cemeteries are for the story.
Yes.
Um, okay. Well, that's what would have blown up previously, so that one's gone. So we
Right.
do need the other ones, which are definitely outside of city limits.
Right. Probably yeah, because the last ones blew up.
They don't want those near the city.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. OMG, no one asked this time. Yeah, the last like I feel like every other stream someone's been like, but where do the dead people go? And then the
And
one
they're
stream where we're
scattered in
digging
this
up
one.
the dead people. Oh my gosh. Okay. Okay, yeah. So let's do cemetery. Yeah, you're definitely like trying to be further out.
Mhm.
Um, would you want it to be like because I feel like we could either go like up into this like north of the city section, or you could go um maybe like west and reuse some of those roads that are already there, but then like it's still as like are you would they feel like they need to be further from the magic mountain or like you know
Well, I think a decent number of these cemeteries would have existed before the mountain went up. So we can like they could be like almost anywhere.
right uh there's a culture that buries their dead in the side of hills and mountainsides.
Oh, that
Feel
would be
like in a lake. Well, we want to be able to dig them back
there
up.
could be some under a lake that is entirely possible with what happened here.
Yeah.
But I think maybe we can start with maybe where would be the cemeteries that would have started after the city was started.
Hmm.
Um, so those ones would probably again be a distance from the city, but still like obviously close enough that they could go out there, bury their dead, and then come back.
Yeah.
So
If
like you
this
would probably,
one
sorry, go ahead.
was, if this one was up on a hill, then
I
perhaps
think
is
that
there
one would
some,
have been sorry, go ahead.
I was gonna say, if that one was up on a hill, maybe there's some sort of cultural significance for placing graveyards up at like on hills or like something like that.
Yeah, so that specific one in my mind was one that was there beforehand, and then people just kept putting bodies there
Mhm.
after. So that would have been like just wherever it landed, basically after this mountain went up.
Right. Okay, so then maybe that's less of a pattern we could look at.
Yeah,
How how tall would the rings circling the mountain be? I think we were saying that there'd be like
couple hundred.
maybe from yeah,
Yeah,
that's about right. About 100 meters, somewhere in that like range there,
yeah.
300 feet, 100 meters. So what if we just like, because you would want it to be accessible by road. So like, what if we put one like up there,
Yep, that
or
makes
is that too
sense.
close?
No, because like basically again, like again, story purposes, so my character can walk out there in the night, do his thing, and then come back in
Right,
the same night.
right, and we know that's within walking distance.
Yeah.
Um, so we'll do our little like. Boop, 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 boop. These are little. That's what I've decided.
Those are plots.
Those are plots. Okay, so then we'd probably have a road out to the cemetery
Yeah.
of some form. I don't know, something like that. Would you have like more than one, or is there like the
I think it would
cemetery?
probably be probably 3 or 4 in the air. Bring out your dead. I love the reference. Thank you.
Okay, so let's see. Maybe there's like a more high scale, like rich one for like more the rich people to have bury their dead in.
That sounds like a thing they would do.
So maybe
If you haven't
like
got this, there's pretty snobby people in the city.
yeah. So maybe like over here kind of spot,
Yeah, that would probably be a good spot. Yeah.
because then you could have if this kind of continued around, we could have some form of little
Yeah.
thing there. Um, another three, kind of vibe. Um, and then those are two relatively close ones.
I could
Maybe,
maybe throw one on the other side of the mountain or farther down.
yeah, like either further down the road or like
I
maybe
do
just like
love
out.
that idea that somebody mentioned that one could have ended up under a lake. I don't know if I'm ever going to use that, but I love the idea that that could totally be a thing in this world.
That there's just dead people down there. Okay, so what if I think maybe like somewhere down here because maybe then it's slightly shared with if there's like towns further down.
Yeah, I do expect that there would be towns basically following all the way down the river. Yeah.
Mhm. So
Partially
then
under a lake on the edges. I
I'm
like
gonna
that.
just like have like
Like half buried under the lake, essentially. I think that that's like definitely a vibe.
okay, let's see.
Oh, okay. I think I know where we can put one.
Okay,
Okay,
okay.
go up farther to the left in one of those ridges where there's a lake. So it's kind of like in a under a lake in a mountain, like it's kind of like going up like the side of a mountain almost, like
Like here?
completely. I can't see where your mouse is.
Here?
Yeah, like somewhere in there. I think that that would be really cool. I don't know what I'm going to do with it, but I can do something with it.
Like little. Partially
A
in the
nice
water.
mattress buried under the rich man's lake.
Okay, okay. So then, would there be a road still going out there or no?
I would think that that'd be an old one, so probably not. They wouldn't care because that's not their dead buried out there.
Right. Okay, so then we have like probably little clusters of like, little your docks of some form.
Yeah, probably have like some watch stations with the police along that road, I would think.
Mm-hmm.
Patrols, yeah.
Yeah, I think that would make sense.
And I see your comment there about difficult to bury the dead beneath permafrost. So we specifically chose this so that there wouldn't be permafrost. It would freeze in the winter and then be thawed in the summer. Although what they would do with their dead over the winter, that'd be an interesting thing.
I mean, they'd be frozen, so they just probably stick them in a pile until it unfreezes and then bury them the rest of the way or something, like, maybe.
Like maybe not a silo, but like a warehouse outside the city limits for the dead is definitely a thing I think they would do.
Yeah. Is that something like, is that plot relevant enough that, like, we should add it, or?
I think so. Well, actually, you know what? Now that we say that, it might be. Excellent question. Where would we put that? Like, I wonder, would they put that at the cemetery or would that be something on the city limits?
I think it'd probably be somewhere like part way. Like if it's the middle of winter and there's a blizzard and they don't have to hike all the way out to the cemetery, they're not gonna, you know?
Exactly. So kind of like putting like it wouldn't be like a great um building or anything. It would just be like this warehouse where they just put them until summer. What's
Dead
happening?
people warehouse.
Dead people warehouse. I love it.
Oh my gosh. Okay,
Maybe
so
like where you see that fork in the road, maybe.
yeah. Yeah, like right here.
Yeah, that can be it. What about cremation? So for story magic reasons, they can't.
Oh, totally
And
missed
what
one.
is happening behind the magic mountain on the backside? I would think it'd probably just be like if there was any kind of mining that might happen back there, maybe it'd be like a mining community, maybe foresting community. Like I would think it'd be more like industrial village communities, is what I'm thinking.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Which, like, I mean, if it's not super duper like relevant right now, we probably don't need to put it
Yeah,
on here, I suppose. But because I feel like this gives you a good idea of like, you know what I mean? Like that.
it's the bad side of the mountain. Yeah, the boring side.
Yeah. Oh, okay. So, would there be anything else on this fancy mountain or at the like are rich people building rich people houses on this mountain? Like,
I feel like it would be almost not worth it for them given like they'd have to like get a road and like supplies up the mountain that being in that ridge with their rich people lane is
right.
close enough to the magic of the mountain that they don't feel like they need to.
Right. Okay. Okay. Temples, religious sites, anything
Hmm.
like that, if it's relevant.
um I don't think it really is because they don't, at least this area doesn't really have much in regards to like a religion. They basically their religion is magic.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah.
Yeah. And then this is the academy, right? Like this is
Yes.
the magic.
That's the Magic Academy. Exactly. Right on the mountain.
I'm trying to think if there's anything else like What about, because like there's a reason that the academy is on the mountain, right? Like, would there be anything else that would get the same benefit? Like if there's like people who are magical that aren't students or aren't teachers, but are still like major practitioners or anything like that? Like if there's a
Um,
ruling board or council of that, or I don't know.
so the people who are like that kind of class of people would be on the council in the city, and the academy is basically run as like an arm of the
Mm,
council. Like they control what happens at the academy.
right.
So there's kind of like a symbiotic relationship between the council and the academy. So whenever the council wants to go and like be sitting in the magic, they just go to the academy and they have like suites there. So
Right.
they
That
don't
makes
need,
sense.
yeah.
Okay. Um, trying to
What's going
think
on with dark magic? Secretly, in secret.
all the secrets. Trying to think if there's anything else that's
Going
like
on. Where do they be? Well, if I'm being a little facetious, we can say the shady stuff is happening at the council building. Um,
right, yeah. I mean, isn't it always, you know? Okay. I'm trying to think of anything else that would be particularly interesting or relevant to add.
I'm loving with what we came up with the
Mhm.
concentric rings there. I think that that's super interesting landscape. I do love that idea of the dead people warehouse. I think that's fantastic.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, it's definitely pretty great. I'm a big
Oh,
fan.
Silence Banks. That's a great one. I don't know why I didn't think of that. Um,
Well, there's so many things that like, but it depends on if it's relevant. Like,
yeah. Like I think it'd probably be in that same sort of area that you would have like the newspaper, the police center. Like it would be in
yeah,
that same general
yep,
district.
yep.
Yeah. Um, yeah, I don't know what else we would need in here.
Okay,
Like I
I
think
can
this
read
is just
through the list I have, and you can let me know if any of it
sure.
would be
If anything's
relevant.
like, oh yeah, I should probably consider that.
Okay. Eating or eateries, like restaurants, which would just kind of be wherever, but like,
Yeah, I think I'd be around. Ooh, what's the newspaper called? So right now in my story, it just is called brackets newspaper. So I need to come up with a name for that. So if anybody has excellent suggestions,
the
instead
Dead
of
People Warehouse.
using
That's the name of the newspaper.
what? The Dead People Warehouse.
Yeah.
Good
Okay.
for
What
you.
about any type of leisure or entertainment, like public baths or
Oh, and like
community center?
theaters and like an opera house.
Yeah, anything like that if it's like relevant. Oh my gosh.
Ah, I don't think any of it's particularly going to be relevant for me, but again, I think that'd probably be in that same
Hmm.
relative
Yep.
district. Yeah.
Yep. Oh, Midnight Sun is your suggestion.
I, that is pretty fun, actually.
You have to think of that. You know. Um. Okay. Where was I in the list? Medical facilities.
Ooh, hmm. That is a good question. Like I know the academy is going to have its own like medical wing.
Hmm.
But I'm almost wondering then, like since it's for the magical elite, they would have their own medical wing up in there. That I'm almost wondering if like the upper class and everything would just go to the academy and use what's already existing there and then just not really have an actual medical center in town. It would just be like you'd have like your more lower class and slum area that would just kind of be tweaking it out on their own.
Right. Or like little like the equivalent of like local midwives and stuff like that that
Exactly.
would like.
In like in the communities. Yeah.
Mhm.
I think that's probably what would spring up here.
Okay. So then what about like any special, we kind of already have this little bit like shops, markets, specialty workshops, if there's anything of that that would be relevant. Hey, don't
Right.
try and use
Yeah, what is
proper terminology here. Um,
uh,
I don't know why
no,
that didn't
this
even
doesn't work in
occur
this
to me.
world now.
Oh my god.
Ooh, a sports arena. I
True.
don't know
Yeah.
what
Like,
kind of sports they would play, but I do love the idea of putting a sports arena somewhere.
mhm. We could just
Like,
like, you know,
it'd be like a version of hockey, is what we would get here in this like very cold climate.
yeah. Which, like, I mean, maybe to some extent it would just be on the lake in the winter, but also because they'd be small enough that those would totally like freeze right over.
Oh,
Um,
absolutely, they would. Yeah.
but you could totally get like, I feel like it would probably still be relatively central, but probably like maybe like over here.
I can't see him. Where's your mouse?
It's the little dot I just placed right here.
Oh, okay. Yeah, that could work.
I just put a random dot. I don't know.
And I can figure out what kind of sports they would play here.
Yeah. Okay. So then we have what's next?
Ooh,
Any
holiday. They celebrate the solstice, both of them,
mhm,
summer and winter.
very nice. Um, any guilds or organizations outside of like the council and all the stuff you already have?
Hmm. I think I think actually, yeah, that would probably make sense. Like once you start getting into like um almost like your trade guilds, I
Mm-hmm.
feel like there would be those.
Mm-hmm.
That would make a lot of sense for this city, actually.
Yeah. Do you want to like place some, or like you could just put it on the list, or
Would it make more sense, do you think, to have it kind of like in where they have Dead People Warehouse Guild?
yes.
Secretly, that actually makes a lot of sense. Um, yeah, I'm just thinking of how that fits into this world, and that makes me laugh a
Mhm.
lot. Would you put, do you think, like the guilds that are like specific to like industries, probably near like the industrial manufacturing area? Would that make sense, or would it make more sense to have the actual guild houses closer to the center of town?
I think it'd probably be somewhere in between the actual industry and the government buildings because the guilds are
Yeah,
going to care a lot what's happening like in the
yeah.
administrative center.
So maybe they would kind of like follow that like main road into town, like maybe
Hmm.
along that line. Because I think we'd said that the manufacturing area was in the upper north part of the city, right? I
Hmm.
think is what we'd said before.
Yeah, so maybe
So
like
yeah,
somewhere in
having,
here.
yeah, them kind of in that area.
Yeah. Piped steam into buildings or independent heating.
I feel that's a good question. I feel like probably the more organized, like pipe steam would probably be for your bigger buildings, like your the council, the castle, the um pros like the mansions and stuff would probably have something more like that. But I think once you start getting into like the lower class areas, they probably have more independent, like fireplace type heating.
Hmm. Yeah, that makes sense. Okay, where was I? We already have the government side. We already have talked about that. We've already talked about religion. Okay. I mean, like public services, but I don't know if there's any of those that would be relevant for your story.
Oh, a steam plant near the river. Oh, that's cool.
Probably on the rich people side of town.
Yeah, probably. Would it be on the river or would it be able to be on the lake?
Oh, that's right.
Bring out your dead service.
Mm. I would assume the steam plant would probably have to be on the river, but
Okay.
we'll see what Greg has to say as our resident civil engineer of the mapping. Um,
Dental care. Who needs dental care?
that's up at the academy, fixing your teeth. Um, there's also, where was I? What about like a normal school, like a non-magical school? Like,
Oh, yeah, I think I'd like that. That would probably go closer because all of like the rich people kids would go to the academy. So we would probably want like normal schools in more of like the lower middle class neighborhoods.
it's like maybe like one over there.
Yeah.
Maybe, um, one over here, kind of
Yes, that
thing.
makes perfect sense to me.
Uh,
Yeah, okay. So
oh,
putting the steam plant on the river due to the flow of the river, it would have a lower freezing point. Yeah.
or like
I
over
don't
there.
anticipate there being childcare or daycare. I don't think that that would be a formalized thing here.
What else is on the list? Kind of already talked about like the vague food production stuff. That's kind of everything I had on my list anyway.
Yeah, I think this covers like a lot of the different things, and not all of it will end up in the story, but having
Mhm.
it can actually, like, as we've been going through this, I've been thinking of things I'm like, oh, I hadn't thought of that. I could play with that in this story. This is really
Right,
cool.
right. Nice. Okay. So I can like export this in various versions and send it over to you
Oh, that's fantastic.
a little bit later. Let me oop. Saving. Actually saving it. Um, but yeah, I think that's kind of all the ideas I had for here, unless anyone has any like last minute thoughts or ideas, weird things to do with the dead people. I don't know. We could like, I don't know.
I'm in love with the idea of having one kind of under a lake. I'm going to find a way to use that because that's going to be fun.
Even if it's just like a joke of, oh, well, you remember that one time when the, oh my gosh. Okay. We all expect a shout out in the dedication page when you're a super famous author, right?
One
Um,
day, living the dream.
yeah. Is the magic mountain static or is it connected to a magma or heat source? I would think it was like built once. Like in theory,
Yeah.
it's kind of just being maintained by the magic itself.
Yeah, I would think so. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. Well, okay. So here's the game plan, people. We're gonna cut out here in a minute, and then we're picking back up in at 5 my time, which is in 38 minutes from now.
Yeah.
Ross is going to join us. We are going to start by looking at the temple complex, which is
Ooh,
this friend that we were
so
rough.
beautiful.
It's the rough
I love
map. It's the rough map. And see what he has to think about the. He has a lot to say on the sanctity of like religious, spiritual, sanctitious. I don't know how to talk in English. Um, places, and then if that gets wrapped up, then we'll have Ross comment / rant at us while we come back here and continue working on the city map. And that will be the game plan.
All
But
right.
yes, everyone says thank you, Phil, for sharing your maps
Well,
with
no,
us.
I honestly, the help you guys have given, this has been so much fun to really start to visualize this
Mm-hmm.
um, as an actual place. And damn, is it going to look like a beautiful city? Thank you all for that. And I think this is great.
Yeah, this was fun. I found like this weekend is the first time I've actually mapped any of my own stuff like on a stream,
Okay.
and it's actually been super duper helpful. Like it's been awesome. So I'm glad you got to experience some of that as well because
No,
it's
this has
the
been
best.
fantastic. You're so fun.
Oh my gosh. Okay, sweet. So then let's remember the dead people where else? Yes. And There's not what was the real word for it? Is it like
A mortuary.
mortuary? Yeah,
I
yeah.
can guarantee you my character will not know that word and he will call it a dead people warehouse.
Yes,
But
and then
you
when
will.
this is like traditionally published and everyone is buying their millions of copies, they'll be like, "Oh, well, you want to know where Dead People Warehouse came from?"
And then we'll all know.
Yes,
Inside joke.
yes, exactly. Okay, yes, thank you everybody. I hope to see most of you back in like 36 minutes. We're gonna end the stream here. So go get some like food or water yourself. I don't know. Be a happy little tree. That's the motto here, right? Yeah, and thank you, Phil. Thank you everybody for being here, and we'll see you a little bit later. Or I will.
Thanks, guys.